Recording in progress.
Isn't that beautiful? Beautiful song. And with a good singer, too. We all need good friends, and this song expresses the critical role friends have in our lives. Tonight, we're going to talk about friendship, and this is based on a rolio written by our founder, Eduardo Bonin himself. I must tell you, though, that I was first intimidated by this rolio as it is so rich and very deep, and there's no way I can present it. But then, with guidance of the Holy Spirit, as well as with the sharing and prayers of our SOL Book Club members, I was inspired to take some excerpts from Eduardo Bonin's rolio and share it with you as my takeaways. At the last SOL technical talk, we learned the true meaning of love from Sis Doris. And friendship is the platform where love develops and grows. So how do you define friendship? I'm sure you all have an idea of what it is. You can easily Google it and you will be presented with the concept of friendship. However, only life itself can tell us what friendship really is. According to Eduardo Bonin, friendship is the most profound way of living together with others, and that the wonder and beauty of life, where it can be best captured and represented, is inside the person. And we learned from Sis Gid at a previous technical talk the value and meaning of not only being simply another human being, but of being a person. Bonin also went on to say the quality that can give a person more joy is his or her ability to understand, feel, and spread the joyful experience of friendship. Talking about friendship, let us first take a closer look at these two different conceptions. The first one, there's the particular or specific friend, or I call it BFF, my best friend forever. We can have more than one BFF. However, we need to remember that each one requires a custom-made approach. And why is that? Because each one is unique, and therefore we need to have a special and different approach to each one. Second conception, friend versus acquaintance. The term friend is used in the generic sense. This term is a word which, like many others, has been overly and commonly used, and therefore it lost its true meaning or it has been devalued. On the other hand, the term acquaintance is someone whom we know a little bit about. We occasionally talk to them and we deal with them only in a superficial manner, and they're not important to us. In this talk, we speak about the special friend, the BFF, the best friend forever, the particular friend, unique, approachable, and close to Christ. Friendship has been mentioned many times in the Bible, with stories of both bad and good friends. For example, from Sirach chapter 6, listen to these three verses. Verse 15, we read that a faithful friend is beyond price. No sum can balance his worth. And in verse 8, we read, for one sort of a friend is a friend when it suits him, but he will not be with you in time of distress. And in verse 14, we read, a faithful friend is a sturdy shelter. He who finds one finds a treasure. That is actually my favorite. When there is a true and intimate friendship between friends, both friends know each other inwardly or deeply. Although each one has different qualities, they mutually respect these. They live the ups and downs of life side by side, and what they do not experience together, they relive as soon as they are able to reunite and share what each one has lived. As an example, for some of you, when you came back from a family vacation, didn't you call your friend right away and told her stories about your vacation? Showed her your pictures, thousands of them, and maybe even brought her pasalubong or souvenirs from the places where you visited. I'm sure many of us have done that. Also, in a genuine friendship, one can sense the need of the other without the other having to express that need in words. A real friend knows when the other has something bothering him or her, like a problem or an illness. Friends understand each other with a word, a gesture, with a look, with a wink, because every smile proclaims closeness and every gesture defines friendship. There have been a few times when I was working with my friend preparing for an event, and when I was still thinking about something that needed to be done, she was already doing it, as if she can read my mind. I didn't have to say it. It's done. Real friends are never possessive. They want their friend to move in freedom. If you remember from Sister Edith's talk on freedom, we learned that we have to respect how differently our friend think, live, and behave. True friends want their friend to be happy, to be successful, to be at peace, and they push each other towards the best that each of them can be, and to achieve that which is best for each of them. Remember that line from the song, You Raise Me Up by Josh Groban? You raise me up to more than I can be. What a beautiful line. That's what real friends do. They push you, they raise you up to more than you can be. And there's also this incredible story on YouTube shared by Sister Doris. Thank you, Sister Doris. It's the story about Kevin and his friends. Kevin can't walk and used a wheelchair all his life because of a disease he was born with. Kevin and his friends planned a trip to Europe. And get this, his four friends carried him through Europe using a special backpack so he wouldn't have to use his wheelchair. His friends took turns carrying him. They visited a lot of orphanages and did a lot of sightseeing. Kevin was able to do what he would not have been able to do if it were not with his friends. Isn't that amazing? It's all because of true friendship. Friendship is the best channel to approach and to understand a person. It makes it possible for friends to talk as equals, a person, honestly and directly, without fear of not being listened to or not being understood when expressing their feelings and thoughts. This kind of open communication I'm sorry, I lost my place. Anyway, I was saying friendship is the best channel to approach and to understand a person. It makes it possible for friends to talk as equals, honestly and directly, without fear of not being listened to or of not being understood when expressing their feelings and thoughts. This kind of open communication enriches our coexistence and makes life beautiful, more interesting, and more joyful. In friendship, you can think out loud with your friend. You can speak your mind without hurting one another. That is because of the trust and love that you have for each other. For example, one time I was visiting my friend. We were getting ready to go to church. When she came out of her room wearing a bright colored shirt with a plunging neckline, the moment I saw her, I couldn't help myself. But I frankly said to her, "Are you sure you want to wear that shirt? It does not look good on you, especially for church." She looked at me, and I actually thought she was going to yell at me. But then she went back it, into her room and then came out with a different shirt. She did not take my comment negatively. She knew I meant well. And I believe that is because we trust each other's judgment. She knows how my tongue can be sharp sometimes, but more importantly, we understand each other. In Eduardo Bonin's talk on friendship, he discussed some important points. Let's take a closer look at some of them. The first one is climate of friendship. Friendship can grow and develop in any place or situation. However, it requires an appropriate climate to be born and grow normally. The true Christian attitude is to live fully aware of life, that is to live meaningfully, because what we live and how we live will always benefit our environment, facilitating its growth and influencing it with our way of life, our Christian way of life. Now, the next point, the process of friendship. Friendship has its particular starting point and nearly always is formed through a more or less long, gradual process. Friendship is always the expansion in time and space of the first impression received, such as the warmth and the kindness as demonstrated by the other. As an example, I remember when I first met my best friend, my BFF, who now lives in San Antonio, Texas, and is currently working as a math professor at the University of Texas. We were on our third year of our engineering course at that time. I was struggling with an advanced algebra problem, and she was so kind to offer her help. She sat down with me, and we spent time, a lot of time, together figuring out the solution to the problem. And that was the start of our very, very long friendship. Now let's take a look at the point of convergence. This is the point where the intentions of the two friends meet. Their shared enthusiasm produces in each of them the contentment and joy of knowing that the other exists and that each one matters to the other and vice versa. That each one has a special place in one another's heart. That each one is part of each other's world. And this certainly makes both friends find their world more beautiful. Friendship helps you see reality from a different point of view. It's like seeing the same old things with new pair of eyes. To look at things and situations under a new light and to realize that we can change our point of view. In the SOL book club meetings, for example, as we discuss the different topics, we share our own views and experiences. And by listening to our friends, we see the other side of things. And we also get to know each other better. Now, the next point is paths. Each individual person is unique and has his or her own path, a specific course of one's life. Friendship requires that each friend is master of his ship, which means that each one has ultimate command and responsibility for his or her own behavior, or for steering the wheel of life. In other words, how she or he lives life. And with that said, these friends are able to bring out all their potential and use it to gradually and simultaneously get to know themselves and each other. All this compels us to live fully awake, because to achieve this, you need love, you need faith, you need to personally discover it and open yourself up to it. Now, let's look at pure friendship. Real friendship must be sincere, disinterested, and non-recoverable. We never count the cost in friendship. No competition as to who is better, who is giving more, or who is spending the most time for the other. Friendship is a mutual and continuous discovery of new qualities that enables us to live the amazement of new things when you see them alive in the life of your friend. Between or among friends, there is always something to tell, to comment on, and to share, and therefore the talk drags on. The farewells never end, and most of the times, they are even continued by texting or FaceTime later on, right? At the last PCC picnic, which was the first in-person event we had as the post-Cursilio committee, I remember after the picnic, we were saying our goodbyes multiple times, paulit-ulit, pabalik-balik, as if we never wanted to part from each other. None of this can be imposed from outside. In friendship, there is no place for impositions. In Cursilio, we have always said that the tree of friendship can not be planted or cultivated for its fruits or its shade, but only for the joy of having more trees, for the joy of knowing that they are alive, for the pleasure of their company, because their presence creates closeness. Friendship does not support other adjectives than those that push friendship up. Now, moving on to the next point, anchorage. Anchorage comes from the word anchor, which symbolizes safety, security, confidence, hope, and stability. It also represents overcoming adversity and being resilient. Brothers and sisters, let us not forget that friendship is not all roses. It requires a lot of work on both sides in order for the friendship to flourish, to be stable. We have to have patience, understanding, and a lot of forgiving. For example, on patience, I read a story about friends where one lost his wife almost 45 years. Wife of almost 45 years, and who did not feel the urge to socialize anymore. But that did not stop his friend John from inviting him to join a group of guys who had dinner together every Friday. But he kept saying no. However, John did not give up on his friend. He remained patient with him, he persevered, and continued to convince him to go out with the group. Until one day, this friend finally said yes, just to stop John's numerous calls. Well, it has been 5 years since his wife died, and he is very grateful to his friend John. He has been joining the group for dinner every week with such enjoyment. Now, speaking of forgiveness, no matter how painful it is sometimes when we hurt each other, if we really love our friend or loved one and he or she matters to us, we have to forgive. And as I was reminded by another friend a few days ago, Jesus wants us to forgive 77 times 7. That's also from Matthew chapter 18, verses 21 to 22. It's about limitless forgiveness. Yes, brothers and sisters, friendship has its challenges. And for it to be stable and secure, must be anchored with our mutual love for Christ. Now, let's take on friendship with oneself. To be a Christian requires, first of all, accepting oneself and being a friend to oneself. As we often hear, you cannot give what you don't have. You can't be a friend to someone if you yourself cannot accept and be a friend to yourself. According to Bonin, in any place or situation where every individual is regarded as a person and is respected and appreciated for what she or he is, the first step for each of us to realize our true self is the friendly acceptance of ourselves. This results in one's recognition of his or her strengths and consequently can make the most of it. On the other hand, this is also an opportunity to recognize and accept one's limitations and difficulties and thereby overcoming them. So, what about friendship with Christ? Christ became like us to befriend us. He shows us the heights to which friendship can aspire, that is, to give one's life for the sake of the person we love. And here's my favorite excerpt from Bonin's Rolio on friendship. When the friendship between two friends is affirmed and strengthened by the friendship that both have with Christ, the joy of being friends increases, and they enjoy a deeper level of friendship because the friendship forged and cultivated within the light of Christ and warmed by His grace seems to be supported and somehow secured by Him. My brothers and sisters, going back to the person, to be a person is to wish to be oneself, and to be oneself is to know that life has a purpose, a meaning, a reason for being, a why, a what for, and a where to go from here. And only Christ, who is the way, the truth, and life, is the total answer to this truth. To grow and develop, it is necessary that we have the why, a reason that is credible, possible, enlightening, and capable of creating a channel for and making sense of the wonderful fact of existence. To live and to devote our living not to something, but to somebody. Let's allow that to sink in for a moment. Somebody. Because whatever we do for Him, He has loved us first. Brothers and sisters, what really matters is that we gradually get to understand that our friendship with Christ has to be visible and transparent in how we treat our friends, how we live our life, and that we see Jesus in each other. Friendship can produce the energy that can move persons who, being Christians, are called to act as leaven in their environments, to change the actual reality. This is without a doubt possible if we make the decision to begin with ourselves. I believe friendship brought me to the Corsilia, and I can tell you that since then, I have gained many friends, and because of these friends, that I am a better person today. I have to admit, I did have my ups and downs and disappointments in the Cursilio. But every time I fall down, my friends raise me up and every time I get up, I become stronger. These friends made me realize that God loves me and that Christ did not come to embitter our lives, but to make it possible for everybody to live a joyful life. Again, friendship is the platform where love develops and grows, and the Cursillo is the platform for love and friendship. It is our training ground to live as good Christians, proclaiming and sharing the love of God. De Colores.